Complying with the conflict minerals rule is extremely challenging. Enacted by Dodd-Frank Section 1502 and administered by the SEC, the conflict minerals rule is unique. It is the first to require SEC-registered companies to tell the public how they manage a compliance program. It is the first to require all the players in global supply chains to report their sources of certain raw materials. Executives responsible for compliance with the conflict minerals rule are under multiple pressures, most importantly to meet its regulatory mandates, but also to have in place the policies and reporting procedures required by their customers. At the same time, they must avoid disrupting revenue-producing operations, and finally, they must run as cost-effective a program as possible. Green Status Pro's Conflict Minerals Reporting Service overcomes these challenges. Our agenda is simple. Take a deep dive into Green Status Pro's Complete Conflict Minerals Rcoi reporting service. At the conclusion, I'm sure you'll agree that Green Status Pro's service offloads the drudgery from you to us and cost-effectively meets your conflict minerals reporting goals. My first and most important message is that Green Status Pro's partnership approach is critical for our clients. They do not have the tools or staff necessary to meet their professional standards for conflict minerals reporting. Our clients are in charge. They set the policies and procedures, review supplier communications, and are actively involved in all phases of the review cycle. Our deliverable at the end of each review cycle is the Comprehensive Conflict Minerals Rcoi and Due Diligence Report. This is the most comprehensive set of auditable reports available. By working as partners, clients tell us that Green Status Pro's service is less expensive, more accurate, and faster than the alternative approaches they benchmark us against. Our work effort with our clients focuses on the three phases of each review cycle. We start with data gathering, collecting CMRTs from our suppliers. We analyze each CMRT and document our findings. This is critical for meeting due diligence obligations. After following up with suppliers whose CMRTs raise red flags, we generate the auditable Rcoi and due diligence reports that are the deliverables our clients are provided with at the conclusion of each review. The first step in data gathering is supplier management. Over the last 3 years, covered companies have identified their relevant suppliers and obtained CMRTs. Green Status Pro's technology reads these CMRTs and extracts the data for establishing our client's supplier contact attribute database. Before Green Status Pro has any communication with the client's suppliers, our client sets the messaging guidelines. Only then do we start the process of gathering CMRTs. After supplier CMRTs are analyzed, we follow up with suppliers from whom we need clarifications. Our client sets a due diligence policy for this follow-up, and we report the supplier responses. When starting with a new client, task 1 is to establish the supplier contact attribute database. The most accurate source of this information is a pool of our client's supplier CMRTs. So we run them through our proprietary CMRT reporting tool Ingester to extract this data. The first evaluation run always surfaces issues that we must correct. We then conduct a contact run to initially populate the database. The supplier contact attribute database is effective because it is designed and updated by both our client and Green Status Pro. We custom build it to include the specific attributes each client needs. Green Status Pro inputs new supplier information and removes obsolete suppliers as directed by our client. At the end of each review cycle, we update the database to reflect information extracted from the supplier's most recent CMRT. The result is a conflict minerals information repository that is critical for both operational effectiveness and due diligence auditability. Let's veer off the reporting process for a minute. This is where I'm always asked about the Ingester technology. It is cloud-based, running in a secure IBM hosting center and continuously backed up. Each client company has its own database. Only our client and Green Status Pro can access the client's database. When data is transmitted, it is encrypted. Ingester automatically documents the CMRT reporting process and results. This provides the audit trail our clients need for an independent private sector audit, better known as an IPSA, an internal audit, a customer review, or even a potential SEC examination. Finally, Ingester is the secret sauce that allows Green Status Pro to lower costs while increasing reporting accuracy and shortening the time required to complete a review. Ingester was specifically designed from day one to be the premier CMRT reporting tool. Now let's get back to the review cycle work efforts and let me provide you an overview. Green Status Pro surveys our client suppliers to collect their most recent CMRT. The result is both a pool of updated supplier CMRTs and due diligence reports describing each surveyed supplier's response or lack of response. We will go into detail on the survey process starting with the next slide. We run new CMRTs to ingester to analyze them for red flags and errors in the declaration statements and smelter listings. Our client directs us regarding follow-up procedures and CMRT acceptance criteria. When our client gives us a go-ahead, we run the accepted CMRTs to ingester to produce the Rcoi and due diligence reports required. Conducting the conflict mineral supplier survey properly is extremely important as it impacts the business relationships in our client's supply chains. Green Status Pro starts the process of developing a survey tool that meets the specific needs of our client. Our client typically modifies it to use their own voice. We then send out the initial survey invitation using our client's email account. Still using our client's email account, we typically send reminders to suppliers that have not responded every 3 days for a 2-week period. Suppliers see our client as their conflict minerals customer contact. They rarely know that Green Status Pro is involved. We do our best to remain invisible. Each supplier's conflict minerals contact is sent a personalized invitation email similar to this from our client. It explains why participation is important and assures the contact that the survey can be updated quickly. We test our surveys with the goal of taking less than 4 minutes to complete the longest path. If the contact does not wish to use the survey form, we provide the option of emailing back the supplier CMRT directly to our client. Our experiences show that over 30% of all suppliers want to communicate directly with their customer. This is yet another reason the partnership approach is so important to success. When the supplier contact clicks on the survey form, they're taken to a very user-friendly introduction page. The most straightforward format offers the respondent 5 choices. First, the respondent can upload the company CMRT using the survey form. Second, the respondent can obtain the client's email address and attach the CMRT to an email. Third, if the respondent is no longer responsible for conflict minerals reporting, they can provide us with an updated contact name. Fourth, they can state that their company does not supply products with gold, tantalum, tin, or tungsten, and the survey will end immediately. Fifth, they can tell us that they will not participate in the process. As part of the required grievance process, the supplier contact can tell us why the company will not participate. As you can see, the upload process is typical. Browse the current CMRT, upload it, the task is done. The email back your CMRT screen is very simplistic. It provides the name, email, and telephone number of our client's regulatory manager and asks that the supplier use the recommended file name format. To update our contact list, the respondent only needs to provide us with the first name, last name, and email address of the new supplier conflict minerals contact. The Will Not Respond option provides the supplier's conflict minerals contact representative the opportunity to surface grievances to our client as recommended by the OECD guidance. While infrequent, this option is used. It is a best practice to thank the respondent at the end of the survey. We provide our clients with the survey status reports they want. During the survey, we monitor the supplier's contact's progress towards providing us with the CMRT in real time. At the conclusion, we provide a comprehensive report that details how our client's suppliers responded. This report is often shared with the client sourcing organization as part of the vendor valuation process. Now that we have our relevant supplier CMRTs, we run them through ingester for analysis. Our objective is to identify red flags and errors, as well as verify that the smelters listed have been authenticated by the CFSI. Green Status Pro provides our clients with 30 declaration rules for identifying red flags and errors. Our clients can direct us to modify these rules to match their own criteria. The analysis run generates the supplier due diligence follow-up report. This report includes the supplier name, contact information, CMRT identification, and reason for the red flag or error. Armed with this information, supplier follow-up is a straightforward process. All smelter entries are checked against the current CFSI smelter reference table. Those that are not authenticated are listed in the rejected smelter entries report. This report includes the reason for rejection, the supplier name, and contact information. Either Green Status Pro or our client will follow up with the supplier as required for the due diligence process. The deliverable at the end of the review cycle is the Conflict Minerals Rcoi and Due Diligence Report. Prepared by Green Status Pro and approved by the client, this report documents the process and results of the review cycle. It provides the auditable evidence that our client has properly conducted the mandated Rcoi. The Conflict Minerals Rcoi and Due Diligence Report includes all the reports described earlier in this webinar, plus the following reports generated by the final run. The first report, and what many consider to be the most important, is an accurate CMRT smelter list. All our client needs to do is add the declaration statement to complete their CMRT. Our clients can provide their customers with a CMRT that is timely, accurate, and auditable. Green Status Pro removes the drudgery and hassle from this very important conflicts minerals reporting task. Our clients, especially those in the consumer electronics industry, are encouraged by their customers to always use the latest CMRT version. When the CFSI released CMRT version 4.01a on August 6, 2015, our clients were able to run their current CMRTs against the updated smelter reference table and provide their customers with their version of CMRT 4.01a ahead of their competitors. The Aggregated Declarations Report provides our clients with all the declaration statements for all their suppliers and the red flags that were identified. This allows them to create the custom reports that they need for managing their conflict minerals program. Here are only 4 examples of the way this report is used. For example, our clients will compare the supplier directory of this report to their company's identified relevant suppliers to document which of the suppliers are not responsive and which are extremely supportive. They can then determine the best course of action to replace or work with the non-responsive suppliers. The conflict minerals reporting contacts can be copied and organized in a format that will be supportive of the information needs of engineering, sourcing, or other departments that communicate with these 3TG suppliers. As part of the due diligence process, conflict minerals reporting executives must review and evaluate their suppliers' declaration statements, especially those relating to sourcing 3TGs from the covered countries. The Aggregated Declarations Report organizes these comments by supplier and metal. This documentation is a must-have for executives preparing their company's conflict minerals report for filing with the SEC and a CMRT for their customers. Not only does the Aggregated Declarations Report provide you with all the information your suppliers submitted with their declaration worksheet, it identifies the red flags and errors in their declarations. Our clients have a goal to source only from conflict-free smelters. Conflict-free smelters are those that participate in the CFSI conflict-free smelter program, implement the required controls, have been audited by an independent auditor, and demonstrate to the auditor that their controls are effective. Smelters that achieve these goals are classified as compliant by the CFSI. The Conflict-Free Smelter Audit Status Report provides our clients with their audit participation status of each smelter listed on their CMRT. Data from the Conflict-Free Smelter Audit Status Report is used by all our clients to manage year-over-year improvements. In addition, some companies include this data in the conflict minerals report they file with the SEC. Therefore, we provide the analytics associated with the smelter status. Since the CFSI changes the conflict-free status listings frequently, our clients must have the conflict-free smelter program reference table used in association with their conflict-free smelter audit status report. Since the reference table must be available with the conflict-free smelter audit status report to allow it to be audited, we include both in one workbook. As we all know, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Green Status Pro provides its clients with any analytics that they request. Our summary analytics table is intended for senior management. It succinctly communicates the status of the company's source smelters and the amount of work required to manage the conflict minerals program. The Consolidated Smelter Report lists each verified source smelter and the number of supplier CMRTs that included it on their smelter list. Many of the companies use the data collected as part of the conflict minerals reporting process to better understand the dynamics of their supply chains. The Consolidated Smelter Report clearly indicates areas of supplier risk. For example, if only one supplier lists a smelter, is there a risk that the smelter is no longer viable? Or if a large percentage of suppliers source from the same smelter, our clients need to know the impact on their business if that smelter is suddenly unavailable. The final report is a listing of all smelter entries by all suppliers. It is equivalent of the smelter list worksheet that the Aggregated Declarations Report was for the declaration worksheet. Our clients use it as a directory resource and as a source of data for preparing specialized reports. To ensure that this report and all others that use this report as a data source are auditable, we include the names of the source files from which the data was obtained. And this concludes our overview of the review cycle procedures and client reports. Now that you know what we do, let me show you how our clients design the complete RCOI reporting program that best meets their objectives. The first question is how many review cycles to run per year. Clients select 3. A year-end review that will allow them to provide their management the most current conflict minerals RCOI and due diligence report, and their customers with the most up-to-date CMRTs by the end of January. To ensure that their CMRTs are never more than 6 months old and their smelter list audit statuses are current, They also run a review to be completed by mid-year. Then they run a Q3, Q4 review to prepare for the next year's independent private sector audit, update their CMRT to the current version, and identify issues that must be resolved before the year-end review. Our clients then tell us the number of suppliers they expect to include in the reviews and the reporting scope. This may be designated as 800 suppliers in a company-level scope and 200 suppliers in a specific product-level scope. Green Status Pro then provides the setup and review cycle fees for conducting these reviews. Finally, we agree to start dates for the next year so that we both have our organizations on a realistic time schedule. My objective today was to show you the advantages of Green Status Pro's partnership approach to conflict minerals reporting. I am sure you will agree that the client drives the program and Green Status Pro manages the drudgery of data gathering, analysis, and reporting. If you too want the benefits of higher quality reports, faster review cycles, and lower conflict minerals compliance costs, consider partnering with Green Status Pro. Call or email us and tell us how you would like to proceed.